The AI's voice was cold, mechanical, precise. Deception pattern detected. Subject Karen Mitchell. Time stop 42 minutes, 18 seconds. Vocal stress indicators. 93% probability of false statement. I stared at my laptop screen as the waveform analysis highlighted. Karen's voice in crimson red. Her words from last month's board meeting playing back. I assure every homeowner here, every single penny of our reserve fund is safely invested and accounted for. The AI flagged it. My hands trembled as I clicked to the next flagged segment. Tente next. The next 12 years of board meetings. Hundreds of lies. All color-coded, time-stamped, mathematically proven. Karen had been playing us all along. My name is David Chen, and I never wanted to be the person who takes down an HOA president. 3 months ago, I was just another homeowner in Metabrook Gardens, a quiet community of 240 homes in suburban Phoenix. I had a good job as a data analyst, a loving wife named Sarah, and a 6-year-old daughter, Emma, who loved riding her bike down our tree-lined streets. I also had Karen Mitchell as my HOA president. Karen had ruled Metabrook Gardens for 12 years. 12 long years of iron-fisted control disguised as community leadership. She was in her late 50s, always impeccably dressed in designer blazers, her blonde hair styled in that particular way that screamed, "I need to speak to the manager." But unlike the stereotype, Karen was smart. Dangerously smart. She knew every rule in our CC&Rs. She knew every loophole in Arizona HOA law, and she knew exactly how to manipulate board meetings to get whatever she wanted. I learned this the hard way in March of 2024. Sarah and I had wanted to install solar panels on our roof. We'd done our research, hired a reputable company, and submitted all the required architectural review forms 6 weeks in advance, exactly as the rules stated. The application was straightforward. Rooftop solar panels, black frames to match our roof, no visibility from street level. The Architectural Review Committee approved it unanimously. 3 votes, 0 objections. Then Karen got involved. She called an emergency board meeting, claiming the committee had overlooked critical aesthetic concerns. I attended that meeting with our approval letter in hand, confident this was just a formality. I was wrong. The committee's decision was hasty, Karen announced from her position at the head table, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she shuffled papers with practiced authority. Solar panels of this nature create visual discord with our community's established aesthetic standards. But the rules explicitly allow solar installations, I countered, standing up with my documents. Section 7, Paragraph 4, Subsection B, clearly states. Karen raised her hand, cutting me off with a smile that never reached her eyes. Mr. Chun, I've been interpreting these rules for over a decade. I think I know what they mean. The board voted 4-1 to overturn the committee's approval. Karen had handpicked every board member. They voted exactly as she directed, like puppets on strings. I left that meeting furious, defeated, and $7,500 poorer after canceling our solar installation. But I'm a data analyst. I solve problems by finding patterns in noise, and Karen had just become my biggest problem. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the meeting in my mind, Karen's confident assertions, her dismissive tone, the way the board members nodded along without questioning a single thing she said. It felt double. It felt coordinated. It felt like a lie. Around 2 in the morning, primera, dan idea. It was crazy, probably obsessive, but I couldn't let it go. Our HOA, like most modern ones, recorded all board meetings. The recordings were posted on our community website within a week, usually just audio files that no one ever listened to. We had 12 years of meetings, 1 per month, sometimes special sessions, hundreds of hours of Karen's voice, making statements, casting votes, interpreting rules. What if I could analyze them? I'd recently read an article about AI-powered voice stress analysis being used in corporate fraud investigations. The technology had advanced dramatically. Modern AI could detect micro-tremors in vocal patterns, changes in pitch and cadence that indicated stress, deception, or manipulation. It wasn't admissible in court as evidence, but it was remarkably accurate for preliminary investigation. Several companies offered commercial versions of the software. Some required law enforcement credentials. Others were subscription-based for corporate use. But I found one, VeraVoice Analytics, that offered a 30-day trial for researchers and journalists. I signed up using my professional credentials as a data analyst, downloaded the software, and started feeding it recordings. The first file one uploaded was from our March meeting, the one where Karen had blocked my solar panels. I isolated her voice segments, ran the analysis, and waited. The results came back in less than 5 minutes. 17 separate statements flagged for high probability of deception. 17 times Karen's voice had triggered the AI as stress indicators while she was explaining why my solar panels violated community standards. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen. The software color-coded everything. Green for truthful baseline, yellow for mild stress, orange for significant stress, red for probable deception. Karen's entire testimony was painted in shades of orange and red. I needed more data. One meeting wasn't enough. Maybe she'd just been nervous that day, or stressed about something else. I spent the next week in my home office every night after Emma went to bed, downloading and processing recordings. January 2024, December 2023, November, October. I worked backward through the years, building a database of every word Karen had spoken in an official HOA capacity. The patterns emerged within days. Karen lied constantly. Not about everything, which made her smart. She told the truth about mundane things, scheduling, basic announcements, procedural votes. This established her truthful baseline. The vocal patterns the AI recognized as honest. But whenever money was involved, whenever power was at stake, whenever someone challenged her authority, the stress indicators spiked into the red zone. I found the pattern in her budget presentations. Every year, Karen presented the annual budget in November, always projecting expenses slightly higher than actual costs. The differences were small, 5 to 8%. Easy to explain as conservative estimates or contingency planning, but the AI flagged her cost projections as deceptive every single year. In January, she'd present the year-end financial report, showing expenses that exactly matched her inflated projections. No surplus, no savings, just a perfectly balanced budget that matched her predictions. The AI flagged these reports, too. Someone was cooking the books, and Karen's voice betrayed her every time she discussed money. I created spreadsheets, graphs, timeline, I cross-referenced flagged statements with actual financial records available on our community website. The picture became clearer and uglier. Over 12 years, Karen had systematically inflated budget projections by approximately $70,000 annually. That was $840,000 in total contingency, funds that had disappeared into vague line items like landscape, improvements, and administrative costs. Where had it gone? Premeta needed help. This was bigger than solar panels now. This was potential embezzlement. Sarah found me in my office one night, surrounded by printouts and laptop screens showing waveform David, honey, you need to sleep, she said gently, but I could see the concern in her eyes. She's been stealing from us, I said, turning my laptop to show her the graphs. For 12 years, look at these patterns, every budget presentation, every financial report. The AI flags her as lying. Sarah sat down, studying the data. She was a high school math teacher, brilliant with numbers. She saw the patterns immediately. This is serious, she whispered. But AI voice analysis isn't evidence. You need proof, actual financial documents, bank records, invoices. I know, but I can't access those. Only the board has that authority. And they're all Karen's puppets, Sarah finished. We sat in silence for a moment. What if we made this public? Sarah suggested. Present the AI analysis at a board meeting. Even if it's not legal evidence, it might pressure them to investigate properly. They'll dismiss it. Call it unreliable technology. Pseudoscience. Maybe, But what if other homeowners start asking questions? What if people request to see detailed financial records? Karen can control the board, but she can't control 240 families once they start demanding transparency. Sarah was right. I needed to go public. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing my presentation. I created a professional report, complete with methodology, software specifications, sample analysis demonstrating the AI's accuracy on control subjects, and then the devastating results from Karen's 12 years of statements. I practiced my presentation dozens of times. I anticipated every objection, every dismissal, every attempt Karen would make to discredit me. The next board meeting was scheduled for April 15th, 2024. I submitted a formal request to speak during the homeowner forum portion of the meeting. The rules required the board to allow any homeowner 5 minutes to address concerns. Karen couldn't legally deny me those 5 minutes. April 15th arrived. The meeting was held in our community clubhouse, a bland room with folding chairs and a long table where the 5 board members sat. Usually, these meetings drew maybe 10 or 15 homeowners, mostly retirees with nothing better to do. Tonight, I'd invited people. I'd sent emails to every homeowner who'd had a dispute with Karen in the past 5 years, anyone who'd been denied an architectural request, anyone who'd questioned a fee increase, anyone who'd ever challenged her authority. 43 people showed up. Karen noticed immediately. I watched her face as she entered the clubhouse and saw the crowd. Just for a second, less than a heartbeat, her confident smile flickered. Her eyes scanned the room, landed on me in the front row with my laptop, and I saw it. Fear. Then her mask slipped back into place, professional and controlled. "Well, what a wonderful turnout tonight," she said, taking her seat at the center of the board table. Her 4 board members flanked her: Thomas, Margaret, Robert, and Susan, all nodding along like synchronized swimmers. The meeting proceeded normally through the first 20 minutes. Minutes approval, treasurer's report, committee updates. Karen's voice remained steady, professional, the AI probably reading everything green. Then came the homeowner forum. "Our first speaker tonight is David Chen," Karen announced, checking her notes. "Mr. Chun, you have 5 minutes." I stood, connected my laptop to the projector system, and faced the crowd. "Thank you, Madam President. My name is David Chen, and I live at 4217 Metabrook Drive. Tonight, I'm going to present evidence that suggests financial impropriety in our HOA's management over the past 12 years. The room went completely silent. Karen's hand raised slightly, an unconscious gesture of alarm, before she forced it back down to the table. I clicked to my first slide. This analysis uses AI-powered voice stress detection technology to identify probable deception in recorded statements. I explained, as the screen showed a waveform analysis of Karen's voice, painted in deep crimson red. Over the past month, I've analyzed every board meeting recording from January 2012 to March 2024. The results are conclusive. I clicked to the next slide, showing a timeline of flagged statements, all centered on financial reports and budget presentations. The AI has identified over 400 instances of probable deception, primarily clustering around monetary discussions. "And this is outrageous." Karen's voice cracked through the room as she stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You cannot use experimental technology to make slanderous accusations against this board." Her face had flushed red, her carefully maintained composure shattering. The other board members looked panicked, glancing between Karen and me. "I have 3 more minutes of my allotted time," Primera Saeed calmly, "and I'm not making accusations. I'm presenting data that suggests we need a professional, independent financial audit. The technology you're describing isn't admissible as evidence in any court." Karen shot back, her voice rising. "It's pseudoscience. It's the same technology used by 70% of Fortune 500 companies for internal fraud investigation." I countered, clicking to my methodology slide. "And I'm not asking for a court proceeding. I'm asking for transparency. I'm asking that homeowners have the right to see detailed financial records, line item expenses, bank statements, and vendor invoices for the past 12 years." The crowd murmured, several people nodding. Karen's hand was shaking as she pointed at me. you have absolutely no right to. Actually, under Arizona Revised Statute 33-1805, any homeowner has the right to inspect HOA financial records with 48 hours written notice, I said, reading from my notes. I'm formally requesting that access tonight. This meeting is adjourned, Karen shouted, slamming her gavel down so hard it cracked against the table. You can't adjourn during homeowner forum, someone yelled from the back. I seconded David's request for financial records. Another voice called, third, fourth. The room erupted into chaos. Homeowners standing, voices overlapping, some demanding answers, others trying to shout over each other. Karen stood frozen at the front of the room, her face pale now. Her eyes locked on my laptop screen, where the AI analysis continued to display her flagged statements in damning red highlights. And in that moment, I knew I'd just declared war. What do you think Karen is hiding? Have you ever caught your HOA in a lie? Share your experiences in the comments below. The emails started at 6:37 the next morning. The first one came from Karen herself, sent to the entire community mailing list at a time when most people were still sleeping. The subject line read, "Important regarding false accusations at last night's meeting." I was already awake, sitting at my kitchen table with coffee. Expecting this, Sarah stood behind me, reading over my shoulder as I opened the email. Dear Metabrook Gardens residents. Karen's message began, her tone dripping with wounded dignity. I am deeply saddened to address the unfortunate events of last evening's board meeting. A homeowner chose to publicly attack this board's integrity using unproven technology and baseless allegations. Sarah snorted. Baseless. She's really going there. I kept reading. Karen's email was masterful. I had to admit, she didn't deny anything specific, just painted herself as the victim of a personal vendetta. She referenced her 12 years of tireless service to the community, mentioned their spotless record, and subtly suggested I had ulterior motives. Mr. Chun remains upset about a legitimate architectural decision made months ago, she wrote. Rather than accept the board's ruling, he has chosen to wage a campaign of harassment using pseudoscience to manipulate community sentiment. The email ended with a call for unity and a reminder that the board would not be intimidated by personal attacks. 43 people had witnessed her meltdown last night. 43 people had seen her panic, heard her voice crack, watched her try to shut down a legitimate homeowner forum. But Karen was betting that the other 197 households would only see her version, carefully crafted in the calm light of morning. She's good, Sarah admitted grudgingly. Evil, but good. My phone buzzed. Then again, it didn't stop. Text messages poured in from homeowners who'd attended the meeting. Some were supportive, others confused. A few hostile. The community was splitting before my eyes. Michael Torres, who lived 3 streets over. Dude, that was insane last night. What's your next move? Patricia Webb from the Architectural Committee. David, I believe you, but Karen's already calling an emergency session. Be careful. Then one from Thomas Brennan, one of Karen's board members. You've made a terrible mistake. Resign this vendetta before you destroy your reputation in this community. I sat back, processing. Karen was moving fast, controlling the narrative, rallying her loyalists. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. What do you need? Proof, I said simply. Real, undeniable proof. The AI analysis opened the door. But you were right. Voice stress detection won't hold up. I need actual financial documents. How? You requested access last night. But Karen will stall. She'll find every legal loophole to delay. I thought about this. Under Arizona law, HOA financial records were technically public to homeowners, but there were exceptions for sensitive information, and the board had 10 business days to respond to requests. Karen would use every single one of those days, maybe longer. I need someone on the inside. Primeta sighed slowly, someone who has access to the real records. Sarah's eyes widened. You mean someone on the board? Or someone who works for the management company, the accountant, anyone who actually sees the invoices and bank statements? We both knew this was risky. Convincing someone to betray Karen's trust, to potentially risk their position, or even legal liability, would be nearly impossible. Unless they were already having doubts, I thought about last night's meeting. Replaying faces, reactions, body language. Most of the board had looked panicked, defensive, ready to close ranks around Karen. But one person had looked different. Susan Martinez, the newest board member, elected just 8 months ago. She'd sat at the far end of the table, watching the chaos unfold with an expression I recognized because I'd worn it myself. "Douse Susan Martinez," I said aloud. "She's only been on the board since August. She might not be completely under Karen's control yet." Sarah pulled out her phone, checking our community directory. "She lives on Willow Creek Court. Works from home, I think. Graphic designer. I need to talk to her." Today, before Karen gets to her, at 9:15, I walked up to Susan's front door. It was a risk showing up unannounced, but I couldn't risk a phone call or email that Karen might somehow intercept or hear about. Susan answered on the third knock, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, clearly not expecting visitors. She was in her early 40s, dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, tired eyes that got even more tired when she saw me. "Mr. Chun," she said, not quite hostile, but definitely not welcoming. "This isn't a good time." "I know. I'm sorry, but I need 5 minutes of your time, and it can't wait." She hesitated, glancing past me to the street, as if expecting Karen to materialize from thin air. "Karen sent an email this morning. She said, 'You're a liar. A troublemaker. Someone with a personal vendetta.'" I kept my voice gentle. "I know what she said, Susan. But last night, when everything went sideways, I saw your face. You looked surprised, not defensive, not angry." "Surprised?" Susan's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you think you saw." "You didn't know about the financial irregularities," I pressed. "Did you?" "There are no irregularities," she said automatically, but there was no conviction behind it. "Then why do you look like you haven't slept? Why are you standing here trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe?" For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then Susan's shoulders sagged. "Come inside," she whispered. Quickly, her home office was cluttered with design work. Multiple monitors showing half-finished graphics projects. She closed the door behind us and leaned against it. "I joined the board because I wanted to help the community," she said quietly. "My kids play in these streets. My husband and I moved here 6 years ago, specifically because it seemed well managed, safe. When a board position opened up, I thought it would be a good way to contribute. What happened? Karen happened." Susan moved to her desk, pulled up a chair. "From day one, she was different with me than in the meetings. Controlling, secretive. She told me the treasurer position was too complex for a newcomer. Said I should focus on social events and landscaping approvals. Small stuff. I sat down across from her, but you wanted to see the finances." "Of course I did. I'm a board member. It's literally my fiduciary responsibility. But every time I asked questions, Karen had an answer. Every time I requested detailed reports, she provided summary sheets. Nothing I could really question without looking paranoid. And now," Susan's hands trembled slightly. "Last night, when you showed that AI analysis, when you mentioned $840,000 in unexplained contingency funds, something clicked. I'd seen those budget lines, landscape improvements that never seemed to improve anything, administrative costs that kept rising. I'd asked about them, and Karen always had explanations. But you never saw actual invoices." "No." Susan's voice was barely a whisper. "I've been on the board for 8 months, and I've never seen a single vendor invoice, bank statement, or payment record. Karen says that's all handled by our management company, that detailed records are available upon request, but she's never actually shown them to anyone." "Who's your management company?" "Prestige Property Management. They're supposed to handle accounting, vendor payments, reserve fund management. But here's the thing." Susan pulled out her laptop, opened a file. I got curious after your presentation last night. Couldn't sleep. So I started looking at our contracts. She turned the screen to show me a PDF of a management agreement. Prestige Property Management is owned by a holding company called Summit Vista, LLC. And Summit Vista, LLC was registered in Delaware 8 years ago by Karen Mitchell. I finished, my stomach dropping. Karen's husband. Technically. Richard Mitchell, but same difference. Susan's eyes were red-rimmed. Furious. She's been paying herself. All these years, the management fees we've been paying, probably $2,000 a month. It's all going back to Karen. That's not illegal by itself, I said carefully. If it was disclosed properly, if the board voted to approve the contract, it was never disclosed. Susan interrupted. I went through 8 years of meeting minutes last night. Every single year, the management contract renewal is listed as routine administrative matter, approved by consent. No discussion, no vote, no mention of who owns the company. That's fraud, I said flatly. Self-dealing without disclosure, that's actual criminal fraud. Susan nodded, tears forming. I've been helping her without knowing it. Every vote I cast, every decision I supported, I was part of this. No, I said firmly. You didn't know. But now you do. And now you have a choice. You can protect yourself and help me expose this, or you can stay silent and become complicit. She wiped her eyes. What do you need? Everything you can access. Meeting minutes, management contracts, budget reports, any emails from Karen about finances. I also need you to formally request detailed financial records from Prestige Property Management. As a board member, they have to provide them. Karen will know. The second I request documents, she'll know someone's investigating. Good, I said. Let her panic. Panicked people make mistakes. Susan took a shaky breath, then nodded. Okay. Give me your email. I'll start gathering everything tonight. I stood to leave, then paused. Susan, one more thing. At the next board meeting, I need you to do something. What? Vote against Karen. Whatever she proposes, whatever she wants, vote no. Break ranks. Break ranks. Show the community that the board isn't unanimous anymore. Susan's hand went to her mouth, the implications hitting her. She'd destroy me. She's already destroying 240 families, I countered. Someone has to stand up. I left Susan's house with a mixture of hope and dread. I had an inside source now, someone who could provide actual documentation. But I'd also just painted a target on both our backs. Karen would retaliate. The only question was how viciously. My answer came 3 hours later. I was working from home, trying to focus on my actual job, when Sarah called from her school. Her voice was tight, controlled, the way it got when she was trying not to panic. David, you need to check the community website. Now, I opened my laptop, navigated to Metabrook Gardens resident portal. There was a new post from Karen, time-stamped 45 minutes ago. The title made my blood run cold, concerning harassment and security measures. Karen had posted screenshots of emails I'd sent to homeowners, inviting them to last night's meeting. She'd highlighted phrases, taken them out of context, made them look like I was organizing some kind of mob. She'd also posted a formal complaint she'd filed with the county sheriff's office, claiming I was harassing board members, creating a hostile environment, and possibly violating Arizona's laws against intimidation. The post ended with, "The board has voted unanimously to ban David Chen from all HOA meetings, pending a security review. We must protect our volunteers from aggressive harassment." I read it twice, my hands shaking with rage. She was trying to silence me, lock me out of meetings, paint me as dangerous, isolate me from other homeowners. But she'd made a critical mistake. Unanimous vote, Sarah said on the phone, having read the same post. She said, unanimous. I smiled grimly. Susan's still on that board. If Karen claims Susan voted for this, she's lying, and we can prove it. My phone rung unknown number. I answered. Mr. Chun, a woman's voice, professional, unfamiliar. This is Detective Maria Gonzalez with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I'm calling about a harassment complaint filed by Karen Mitchell. I'd like to ask you some questions. Karen just weaponized law enforcement. Have you ever dealt with an HOA that tried to intimidate you? Drop your stories below. Detective Maria Gonzalez arrived at my house 45 minutes later. She was professional.com. Surprisingly sympathetic as I explained the situation. Mrs. Mitchell claims you've been harassing board members, sending threatening communications, Detective Gonzalez said, reviewing her notes. I pulled out my laptop. Those emails were invitations to a public HOA meeting. Here's the original context. Detective Gonzalez studied both versions carefully. Her expression shifted from neutral to annoyed. This isn't harassment. This is community organizing. I'll document this visit, but I'm not filing charges. After she left, my email pinged. Susan Martinez, I have the documents. Desert Rose Coffee Shop. 1 hour. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Susan sat in a corner booth, exhausted, a thick manila envelope before her. I requested financial records from Prestige Property Management this morning, she whispered. Karen called 20 minutes later, furious. She slid the envelope across. Inside were bank statements, canceled checks, vendor invoices going back 7 years, $72,000 to Sunset Landscaping Solutions for improvements that never happened, $38,000 in emergency roof repairs for work never performed, $115,000 to Premier Maintenance Services for a pool service we didn't use. These are shell companies, I said. Karen's creating fake invoices. Susan nodded. Page 17. A wire transfer record from our reserve account to a personal checking account. Richard Mitchell, Karen's husband, $250,000. November 14th, 2023. Memo, Reserve Fund Management Fee. There's no such thing as a reserve fund management fee, Susan said. This is embezzlement. I photographed every page. You're a hero. I'm terrified. Karen knows I requested these. My phone buzzed. Michael Torres emergency board meeting tomorrow night. Karen's hiring a lawyer to sue you. She's panicking, Susan said, moving too fast. Tomorrow night, I need you to vote no on everything. Request records of every transaction publicly. Susan took a deep breath. Karen won't go quietly. She'll burn everything down. Then we make sure everyone's watching. The next evening, 90 homeowners packed the clubhouse. Karen sat composed, flanked by Thomas, Margaret, and Robert. Susan sat isolated at the far end. We must protect this board from baseless attacks, Karen began. I move we hire Bradley and Associates to pursue defamation litigation. Cost, $45,000. This is misuse of community resources. Someone shouted. All in favor? Karen asked. Thomas, Margaret, Robert raised hands immediately. Everyone looked at Susan. She sat still for 3 seconds, then raised her hand, but spoke. I move to table this until the board provides detailed financial records for all expenditures. Over $5,000 for 7 years. The room erupted. Karen's face went white, then red. That's not the motion. I'm requesting transparency before committing $45,000, Susan said calmly. Unless you have something to hide. Clapping started. Half the room joined. Karen stood abruptly. This meeting is adjourned. You can't adjourn during a vote. Susan called, but Karen walked out, board members scrambling after her. Susan remained seated, surrounded by cheering homeowners. She looked terrified and exhilarated. My phone buzzed. Email notification. Subject: Legal notice Metabrook Gardens HOA. Karen had filed a lien against my property. Unpaid special assessments and violations. $23,000. She was trying to take my house. I showed Sarah the email. Her face went pale. Can she do this? It's fraudulent. But yes, she can file it. We'll have to fight it in court, which takes months. Meanwhile, we can't sell or refinance. Sarah's hands shook. We have a 6-year-old daughter. This is our home. I know, but we're not backing down. The next morning, I contacted Bradley Morrison, a real estate attorney specializing in HOA disputes. His consultation fee was $300. This lien is clearly retaliatory, Bradley said, reviewing the notice. But here's the problem. Even fraudulent liens take months to remove through legal channels. Karen knows this. What do I do? Document everything. File a complaint with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. And honestly, go public. Media attention often forces HOAs to back down faster than legal action. I called Channel 12 News that afternoon. Their consumer protection reporter, Jessica Ramirez, answered, "I have documentation of HOA embezzlement exceeding $500,000, AI evidence of systematic fraud, and a retaliatory lien filed against my home," I said. Jessica was at my house within 2 hours with a camera crew. I showed her everything. The AI analysis, Susan's financial documents, the fake vendor invoices, the wire transfer to Karen's husband, the lien notice. "This is incredible," Jessica breathed. "When can we air this?" "Tonight, tomorrow. I need to verify documents. Contact Karen for comment. Confirm details with experts. Karen will deny everything." Jessica smiled. Always dull. But documents don't lie. The news segment aired at 6 o'clock the next evening. Jessica's report was devastating, thorough, and featured every piece of evidence. Channel 12 posted it online immediately. Within hours, it went viral. My phone exploded. News outlets, lawyers, HOA reform advocates, even a state senator's office. But the call I was waiting for came at 8:37. Susan Martinez. Crying, "Karen just resigned. Effective immediately. She's gone." David, "She's actually gone." But Susan's next words made my blood run cold, and she emptied the reserve account. Every penny, $2.3 million. It's all gone. Karen escaped with millions. What would you do? Comment below. $2.3 million. Gone. 3 days later, I faced 230 homeowners in emergency session. Our reserve fund, accumulated over 15 years, had vanished overnight. Karen transferred everything to offshore accounts, I explained, displaying bank records. Cayman Islands, she planned this the moment we exposed her. "Can we recover it?" someone shouted. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit opened an investigation yesterday. International recovery takes years, but they're pursuing it. Angry voices erupted, families facing massive special assessments, elderly residents on fixed incomes devastated. "This is your fault," Thomas Brennan yelled, pointing at me. "If you'd stayed quiet, she'd have stolen more," I interrupted, "and you'd still be her puppet." Susan stood. David saved this community. Without his courage, Karen would have continued stealing indefinitely. Yes, she took everything when cornered, but that's on her. The room quieted. "What now?" Patricia Webb asked. "We rebuild," I said. "New board, transparency. Independent audits, proper controls. This never happens again." 6 weeks later, Karen was arrested at a Costa Rica resort. Extradited immediately. Charged with 12 counts of embezzlement, wire fraud, money laundering. The trial took 8 months. I testified 3 hours, presenting the AI analysis that started everything. Susan provided financial documents. Forensic accountants traced every fraudulent transaction. Karen's defense argued AI evidence was inadmissible. The judge agreed, but noted documentary evidence alone was overwhelming. Jury deliberated for hours. Guilty. All counts. Sentencing. 18 years federal prison. Restitution. $2.7 million. We recovered $1.4 million through seized assets. Insurance claims and settlement with Prestige Property Management's bonding company covered most of the rest. Not everything, but enough. Outside the courthouse, Sarah held Emma's hand. News cameras surrounded Karen's attorney. "Daddy, did you win?" Emma asked. I looked at my daughter, thinking about the community we'd protected. "Yes, sweetheart, we won." Susan Martinez became HOA president unanimously. Her first act, implementing AI-assisted financial monitoring for all future transactions. The technology that exposed Karen now protects us. Justice served. Community restored. Karen Mitchell would spend 18 years remembering the data analyst who refused to stay quiet. I'd spend mine teaching Emma that standing up to bullies always matters, even when they seem untouchable, even when they threaten everything. Especially then, because silence protects the corrupt, and courage protects everyone else. The AI had detected her lies, but humanity delivered justice. Justice wins. Ever fought HOA corruption? Share your story.